It's time for AggroChat, the official podcast of the Tales of the Agronaut blog and stalwart gaming community, where we talk about stuff and things, and the stuff about the things, and sometimes gaming. I'm Belghast, and let's start the show. Hey folks, it's that time again. Time for another episode of AggroChat. This is episode 291. Tonight I'm joined by Ammo.
Hello.
Ashgar.
Hi.
Kodra.
Don't speedrun your hand washing.
And Thalen.
Hello.
Now, this won't be relevant tomorrow when this actually comes out, but Happy Pie Day!
Yay, Happy Pie Day.
I
Yay.
celebrated by eating chicken pot pie for dinner and having a caramel turtle pie for dessert.
That
I'm
sounds
jealous.
delightful.
I had no pie.
It was amazing.
I also did not have pie.
Well, there's pie in the fridge if you can somehow make it to Oklahoma. But that's maybe not a great idea, because travel is not a thing that most of us should partake of right now.
Maybe consider not.
Yeah, so the world has gotten really weird. Like I said on Twitter, like, we are now officially living in interesting times.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it might be, I don't know, like, beneficial to, like, kind of talk about how things are for all of us so far, since we're kind of spread out around the country. Things are in this weird state where life is mostly moving along as normal, except for, like, all the things are canceled and people are stocking up on weird stuff. But otherwise, like, you couldn't tell anything was going on.
So, I work about 2 miles from the first place where there was a death due to COVID-19 in America. So, we started working from home 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
We had flights canceled that day. Like, I believe we had somebody coming in for a meeting and that got emergency canceled. So it's been a little bit hairier here. We were where the toilet paper shortages started, although I will say, while people seem to like flock to Costco, Safeway also sells toilet paper and their stock is mostly fine. Like, maybe don't go to the big warehouses.
That is
go to, like,
not true. The Safeway near me.
Yeah.
it's not true.
Like that is
No.
one thing that has happened here already is, so last Monday I needed to go to Sam's just because I needed stuff from Sam's. Because, like, Costco really isn't a big thing here. Like, we have one, but it's, like, out in the middle of nowhere, and it's awkward to get to. So Sam's Club, like, we have a bajillion of those, and I'm sure it's kind of the same way for Thalen.
Yep.
But, like, so we have for years used Sam's toilet paper just because it's utilitarian and it's cheap. So I'm like, okay, I will buy another package of it. And when I, like, on my way back to where the toilet paper was, I kept passing cart after cart after cart with 2, I think they're like 54 roll packs.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess that was the limit that they had set. Yeah. Like, they're these giant packs of toilet paper. Like, it's just nonsense. And it's like double-sized rolls as well. But, like, everybody had, like, 2 in their cart. And I'm like, this is weird. So I went back and I grabbed a single one. And at that point, they were down to, like, maybe a half pallet in the entire store. And that's, like, the lowest I've ever seen it. And then since then, like, various other stores have had runs on toilet paper. And there are people on Craigslist trying to sell toilet paper. There was a butcher that was advertising 80 rolls for $130.
What?
I don't think my opinion of price gougers and what should be done to them is appropriate for this podcast.
No.
The good news is Amazon has banned a lot of marketplace sellers for this.
Yeah, there's an article in the New York Times today about some dude that's got a garage full of hand sanitizer because he bought up all the hand sanitizer in Tennessee. I fully expect to hear about that dude's garage being broken into within the next day or two.
You can't really find hand sanitizer, toilet paper, or like bleach, or like bleach wipes.
Yeah, the Clorox wipes or whatever, yeah.
Yeah, it's like how whenever it snows, there's a run on bread and eggs and milk, except instead it's toilet paper and hand sanitizer. Which is kind of weird because, let's be honest, you can make do without toilet paper that there are other ways to clean your rear end.
Yeah,
and soap is better than hand sanitizer. So
right,
maybe just use soap.
That's the thing that cracks me up is like every place has plenty of soap and general cleaning supplies.
Yeah,
it's like a handful of things that people are panic buying. And I guess I get like psychologically they're trying to assert control by buying the thing that they think is they're running out of. But
yeah, it's like this is a thing that I can do to try and like improve my situation. But yeah. But yeah, I mean, because in a way, we're actually really lucky with this one because it's it has a lipid outer coating, and soap and water will take care of that real good. So just washing your hands makes a huge difference. So yeah, wash your hands. Don't speedrun it.
Like the fact that like we have a stockpile of random items from Bath and Body Works like is good because over the years we have bought random pocket backs, so we have plenty of that. And we have plenty of foaming soap because I like the smell of it.
We've got so many tiny bars of soap from hotels, and like I think if we absolutely had to, we have like scented soaps from like gift pet baskets that we could break into. We'll be fine for a while.
It's time to break out all the random soaps you've got over the decades.
Yep.
As far as like other things that are important foodstuffs, like that all seems to be fine. Restaurants are mostly still open.
We're going into some of the really big changes, though. Like, I don't know if it's just Seattle or if it's all of Washington, but schools are closed as of Monday.
So, that's kind of been held off here, only because, like, Friday was the last day of school before spring break, and, like, the entirety of my state is out for spring break during the same week.
Yeah, our schools closed Wednesday, are in my county and 3 other, basically the counties where there have actually been detected cases and are remaining closed basically until the end of the month. But the last 2 weeks of that was spring break anyway. So it's next week is the latter half of this week, and then next week are the only ones, is the only part that affected.
I think like all the schools are basically kind of doing a wait and see. And we'll make some decision towards the end of spring break. But like a lot of the universities are out and have already announced that they won't be back after spring break. They'll either be going virtual or just calling classes.
Yeah, pretty much all our universities have moved to online classes for the duration. It was really interesting being in the office last week, and over the course of the week, like I think it was Tuesday that they sent out an updated like pandemic response plan. And then, or maybe it was the latter half of last week. It all blurs together. But like over the course of the week, there have been like 3 updates to it. The most recent of which was at about 3 p.m. yesterday. They announced voluntary work from home until the 27th, which everybody on my team has taken advantage of that. You better believe. We're all developers. We don't need to be in the office.
Yeah, and we've been doing what we can to prepare for that. It hasn't hit yet, but like I fully expect Monday, Tuesday, we will be going to full remote.
The worrisome thing is our VPN only supports a maximum of 500 people simultaneously, and we have over 500 employees.
So our benefit has been that like this is kind of a dumb thing, but it like is going to help us. We have been on this weird journey of trying to standardize our VPN options, but not quite getting there. So we technically have 4 different routes in, and like we're kind of provisioning different people with different ones based on their needs.
Yeah.
And as a result, like if we spread it out amongst all the different devices, we have plenty of capacity. So here's hoping we can somehow keep from like flooding any specific one. Like I think the big one has 1,500 capacity, which is probably fine. Like. It's just weird. Like it's as management, my last 2 weeks have been all these meetings trying to figure out like when to pull the alarm and actually go into panic mode.
Yeah, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, I mean, and it's been a lot of just logistical planning, like how So, I mean, I've been working with other groups to basically kind of outline how we're going to do business remotely. Because I come from a very butts in seat culture where if you are not in your seat, you are not working, and that is not my thing. And that's definitely not the way I would choose to manage, but it is just the culture I'm in. So my hope is that this will speed up the evolution of, oh, hey, we can function just fine with remote workers. And also, I am hoping, like, a side result of this is that, hey folks, like, disabled employees are awesome, and you should use those resources way more often. Because you don't actually need to be in the office, or you can work in alternate scenarios.
Yeah.
Also, maybe people's morning commute is contributing to carbon dioxide, which is killing our planet. And I don't know. This feels like when I started seeing this happening to like Microsoft, Amazon, my company, Facebook, Google, I was like, this seems like a Pandora's box. You don't get to unring this bell.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think it will be beneficial for most people to have a blend of on-site and off-site. And this is going to, I think, push a lot of companies that weren't comfortable with it into a rapid level of comfort. Because, like, it's going to have to function this way. This is just how the world is going to have to work for a while. And, like, that has a whole bunch of other trickle-on effects. Like, you no longer need as much office space. You can, change the way work is set up.
I mean, there are definitely benefits to having office space and having other people around.
I think this will lead to maybe some more flexible working arrangements for a lot of companies that just haven't done that yet.
Yeah, one of the things that is already starting to be, like, the other big impact is our stock market went into free fall this week, which I don't think is the economy, but in very poor economic news, a lot of local businesses, especially restaurants, are shutting their doors permanently during this.
Yeah, and that's real rough. Like, I'm trying to do whatever I can to continue following the same kind of pattern that I normally do, and, like, buying from the same establishments that I do, just to I don't know, like, maybe help with that. But, like, I've already noticed that the roads are way emptier than they had been, so, like, people just aren't out and about.
I heard a restaurant lost $250,000 worth of reservations after an event, and, like, as a result, it's pretty backbreaking.
Yeah, I mean, well, and that's been another thing that keeps happening is, like, so there's been basically a proclamation that, like, in Tulsa, there will be no gatherings over 250. Like, they're just canceling all events that are over 250 people.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of happening across the board. So, yeah, like, there's a lot of stuff that's just not happening. I mean, I'm not super into sports, but I have listened to the lament of lots of my friends that are at just everything shutting down. But, like, it makes sense.
Yeah, sports are canceled.
Yep.
Like all sports.
At a minimum, no audience. Like, I guess there's a couple of NASCAR races this weekend that are still happening. They're just not going to have any fans in the seats.
No, I didn't realize that. I knew that in NBA, NHL, NCAA,
baseball, spring training,
spring training, all canceled or pushed out. Which brings up a really interesting question of what does ESPN do now?
all COVID-19 coverage all the time? I don't know. Yeah.
I will say, like, listening to Colbert without an audience is real awkward.
Yeah, that would be.
Like, there's clips online, and you should check them out, but, like, they had, I guess, planned to go audienceless on Monday, and then some regulations basically said, oh, hey, as of Thursday night, no one's going to have an audience. So yeah, it was real interesting. So they basically recorded the dress rehearsal, and that became the actual show.
Yeah. Well, they're in New York, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and New York has the 250 person limit in effect too, which basically closed Broadway, like all of it, among other things.
Seattle also has the 250 person limit.
Yeah.
I mean, ECCQ was, or ECCC, Emerald City Comic Con, was closed very early.
Yeah. Like in general, if you have the ability to do so, and there are any creatives that you would maybe like to support, they would probably be really appreciative of your support right now, because a lot of their normal sources of income have disappeared all of a sudden.
Yep.
See, this is like, there's going to be some knock-on effects. Like, I don't know how some of these conventions
Survive
taking a year off.
Yeah,
right.
because they tend to run year by year, like pretty close to the bone. So,
and I mean, what's really rough though is, I mean, I get it, but a lot of these venues are essentially using the Act of God clause when they cancel the event. Right. So no refunds, no anything. Yeah. And it's rough because like people are out money for these things, but like especially like you're not going to get like airfare refunded, and especially the things that canceled only a few weeks ahead of the convention, like GDC, for example.
Yeah, I mean, related. I've got a coworker, the dude who sits in the cube next to me. He and his wife were going to China in a week. Like they had that planned months and months and months ago. Obviously, that went out the window, and they had moved it to we'll go to France instead. Well, clearly that's not happening now.
That's not happening either.
And I think they're pretty much just out, the airfare and hotels and stuff. I don't know, but yeah.
I mean, I guess this kind of segues into another topic, but like one of the announcements of cancellation was E3, and I don't think there's going to be an E3 ever again. Like, I think we're just basically done with E3 at this point.
Yeah, I mean, who is it even for anymore?
I mean, it was on Vapors for a while, and all of the shows that I care about that are associated with E3 can function without E3 existing. Like, I enjoy watching the Microsoft press conference or the Bethesda press conference, but really, those just happen to coincide with E3 and don't have anything to do with the actual show.
I mean, people are mostly watching those online, so they could basically do them whenever they felt like and put them out there and probably get a similar audience.
Nintendo Direct has basically proven that, that is a really good model of here's a pre-recorded segment every so often to show off our stuff. And Sony went to that model too, although theirs is significantly less cool than Nintendo Direct. State of Play is not as like it needs some work. But I don't see why any of them won't function along those lines, to where just putting out a show periodically that they get to produce on their own time and then just set a date and say, oh, hey, we're going to stream it on this day. I
mean, I imagine a lot of publishers are either going to continue their own thing, or they'll be like, I think everyone's going to be okay without E3. The people big enough to do their own show are already doing their own show.
E3 did stop existing a few years ago, and it turns out that there was a need for it, so it came back. That was before we had Nintendo Directs. But I'm wondering if its absence will be noted. Like, I don't think it's a certainty that it's never going to come back.
I suppose we will see what the various companies decide there.
Yeah.
Who runs that? Is it the ESA still?
I believe so.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like PAX serves a better purpose for the indies, and then the big people can do their own stuff on their own terms.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do know that E3 is not really a great place for indies.
And also, the Game Awards have kind of filled a niche to where it is a big promotional show where there's just trailer.
Since they started, they're more of a promotion than anything else, really.
Yeah. But it has gone from something that looks like it was produced in a high school speech classroom to being a real thing.
You mean the performance art that is the Devolver Digital?
Oh man, that is a thing. I think we would all be okay without that one.
Where else will we get our absurdist things?
I'm
Adult
guessing
Swim.
Devolver's press conference, since that's pre-recorded anyway. They almost certainly have it. Well, I guess they probably not ready to yet, but they would have by the time June rolled around. They can put out videos too.
I think it's going to be interesting to see how long the effects of COVID-19 are. Like, are we having Olympics this year? I mean, like that's
a big
that's
question.
in July. Like what does the rest of this year look like? How many quarters does this end up like basically tanking?
I know Gen Con's in a wait and see mode. That's August.
Right, and I'm sure probably PAX West is also in a wait and see mode.
I think a big question that we don't know the answer to yet is it going to be a seasonal disease? And if so, are we going to actually, spend the summer preparing for its resurgence? Or will people act like, oh, it's all gone, everything's good now?
I have no polite responses to this.
Yeah.
I mean, even if this ends up being less bad than it's currently on trajectory to, there will be a pandemic at some point that is extremely bad. So, like, I feel like we have to be just prepared for this. Because it seems like these trickle up every couple of years.
Yep. Yeah, but that requires, thinking about the future and having redundancies, to prepare for things. So why would we want to do that?
Be terribly useful if we were prepared. Yeah, so I mean, I don't know. Like we're definitely in batten down the hatches mode. Everything is frozen. Life continues to go on though, and I won't lie. I am concerned about COVID-19 because like I am in a demographic that would be affected by it. I have both an immune system deficiency and I have severe respiratory problems. And that said, I am trying to live my life as normally as possible. At least like a cautious normal. So like I know there's going to be a lot of anxiety out here. And I guess that's part of why I wanted to talk about this tonight, is just to like have a little bit of a dialogue to say, yeah, we're probably all kind of anxious right now, and it's okay, and we will continue to function as best we can while staying safe, and hopefully we all get through this.
Yep.
And while we're all housebound, there's a lot of delightful video games coming out.
Yeah.
It is true. I finally beat Doom 2016 because for some reason I found it I guess, relaxing to blow things away and not think about everything else. So I have a massive backlog, and I to some extent I'm looking forward to playing through that massive backlog, because we will probably be indoors a lot. And I know one of the things that we did today was trying to like get everything ready to open the backyard so that we could at least have an outdoor oasis of sorts to go out into and enjoy the outdoors without necessarily going out into the community.
Yeah, at least there's that, as long as the weather's okay. I'm not super excited about the idea of being, trapped in a house with a 2-year-old for 2 weeks straight. But at least we can, take him out in the backyard some.
It's a thing.
So like one of my friends posted a picture with their toddler, and they had a picnic in the backyard, and they just like drug some lawn chairs out and had an evening picnic just because like it was not in the house.
Yeah.
And it looked like a fun little adventure. I mean, maybe setting up a tent in the backyard is a thing that might be a good idea too, because like you can go camping sort of.
It's an idea, yeah.
I don't know. Like I am thankful that so far most of my monkey sphere has been pretty, rational and like not super prone to hyperbole, but
yeah.
I mean, like there's concerns, and I think you have to talk through them and deal with them as best as you can. So, on to other topics. Ori.
So Ori and the Will of the Wisps came out this past Wednesday.
How is it?
It is a direct sequel to Ori and the Blind Forest.
Is it 13 sads out of 10?
Maybe.
I mean, I feel like I should point out that almost everyone from the original Ori game survived, even though it started with what appeared to be one of the very close characters dying.
I was going to say, I've seen what looked like that character in stuff for the second game.
Yes,
so...
that character does come back to life in the middle of Ori and the Blind Forest.
That's good.
There is a character that dies. It is a little bit sad, but also that person has been fighting you the whole time, so...
Right.
This game is also sad, but it's also really good.
So what platform did it release on?
Xbox One and PC.
Okay.
And it seems like there were some QC issues, is what I will say.
That's what I hear. I haven't run into any.
I get a lot
other than PS4 controllers being basically broken.
So I get a lot of audio buzzing still. And I've also had 2 crashed desktops.
Performance on actual consoles is allegedly not very good, and even on PC it struggles at times.
So maybe it maybe should have been delayed a little bit. Like, wasn't it already delayed once?
Yes, it's been delayed a few times.
So when on PC, is it on Steam or is it through Windows Store?
Oh.
Okay.
The Windows Store is Play Anywhere, and the Steam version is not, but either way, you'd like to pick it up. One of the things about Ori that the first Ori had over Hollow Knight, which Ori came out way before Hollow Knight, by the way, is that the movement in Ori is just a dream. It's ridiculously amazing.
Yep.
Ori's movement is smooth and animated wonderfully, and the double jump feels really good.
Once you get past the fact that the double jump gives you very little verticality, it feels good. The double jump is mostly there to extend the length of your jump and also keep you in the air longer, which is very important when you are trying to do as much combat as possible with a sword while never touching the ground.
So one thing the first game didn't do well was combat.
No, it did not.
With sort of your auto-aim spirit friend could shoot at enemies, or you could charge up a big AoE and do that, and that was the extent of combat for the most part. So it also didn't have any boss fights. It showcased the amazing movement by having escape sequences instead. They fixed that for the sequel. A little ways in, you get handed basically a sword, and you have a weaponsmith who can give you a variety of other weapons. I mean, a variety of wrong choices and a hammer is what I meant to say.
Yeah, I apparently have picked a wrong choice, and I didn't go back because the one I picked was so underwhelming. And fighting with the sword is fun.
Fighting with the sword is a lot of fun. Fighting with the hammer is also a lot of fun.
So this game, while this game does vastly improve on the combat, it also starts you out at a point where you're already pretty good at moving, and then rapidly tries to get you to the point where you are much better at moving than you were in the first game.
You get upgrades so quickly in this game, at least the first few. It starts you with the first game's wall jump, and then very quickly gives you double jump, and then a dash, which the first game didn't have, and a grapple, which the first game also didn't have. You do eventually get the first game's God-tier movement upgrade, the bash, which lets you slingshot off of enemies and projectiles. But I guess they figured since you have a sword now, you can do boss fights now. Although, admittedly, they make you do your first boss fight before you have the sword.
They still give you a stick that's on fire.
They give you a torch.
Good
the torch does not feel nearly as good as the sword does later.
No. Well, and then
I
the
died
sword...
in the first combat, I think, 3 times.
The sword, once you get the sword and you're able to dodge roll, then you just... It's very much, it's very reminiscent of fighting in Hollow Knight. Although even more extreme, because Hollow Knight's movements are still a lot more contained than this game's. This game has drawn some comparisons to Hollow Knight, though, which apparently was to the frustration of the game director. But those comparisons are apt.
Just because he's mad about it doesn't mean he's correct.
Yeah.
The upgrade system was replaced with... they replaced the leveling system with a system of shards where you equip a certain number of them to do certain things. There is a map maker that you buy maps from. Oh, that's not unique at all to Hollow Knight.
No.
They added a lot of recurring NPCs who travel around the world and you get to talk to. Again, not unique to Hollow Knight, but you see why these comparisons are being drawn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like a worthy comparison. Does the map maker sing a song?
No, the map maker does not sing a song. You also map things as you come across them, so the map is more like buying the map in Castlevania. It shows you those places you didn't go.
Okay.
I am really enjoying it.
I'm having a blast. So one of the things about the combat system, like as soon as you start into a combo, your character sort of freezes, even if they're in midair. So that's one of the things that really helps you do a lot of midair combat with your sword. Also, if you ever strike an enemy, all of your midair techniques reset. So if you're like using double jump, if you hit an enemy with a sword, you get a double jump again. You also get your dash again. Yeah, there's a lot of things that just make it really easy for you to do cool, intricate aerial combat that feels really fun. And they give you lots of opportunity to test it out. Because there's a lot of enemies that are annoying to fight if you aren't taken to the air.
But it sounds like there's just a good rhythm that once you get into it, you can kind of like flow.
Yes, but I would also say that this game is, like the original Ori, this game's going to kill you a bunch. It's going to reset you almost immediately, though.
I never beat Ori, but that was one of the things I liked about it, that basically it allowed you to fail fast so that you could just like keep trying.
Yeah, this game will let you fail real fast. The animation is also like, we talked about it briefly, but I kind of want to go into it. There are so many different like ways for Ori to interact in the world, and they've all got like very pretty animations based on not just like what he's doing. Like if Ori climbs on a vine, like as he's jumping towards it, there's a certain animation. If Ori is grabbing onto a vine as he's rocketing towards it, there's like he'll like spin around the vine as he tries to slow himself down. So there's like a whole bunch of different animations that all look right, and especially once he gets moving fast, they look very, very flourishy, and it looks very, very cool. The game also has speedrun sections built into it, which I appreciate.
So like time challenges or
Yeah,
okay,
like ghost races.
oh that's cool.
So get from point X to point Y and do it in as fast a time. If you can beat their like preset ghost, you get in-game bonus, and then you can also watch like there's a leaderboard, so you can actually see how the number one person is like pulling off their time. And frequently the answer is using tools you do not yet have access to. So I'll have to come back to those. I don't know. So as I've been playing this, it's feeling weird, but this feels like, I don't know, this might be better than Hollow Knight.
Oh my.
Yeah, like, is real good.
That's high praise from you.
Yes.
I'm not sure I agree.
I've been
very
torn.
Good. It's very good, but I'm not sure I'd call it better than Hollow Knight.
It'll be interesting to see with
Maybe
this
it's going
out
to do
now.
something in its last half to get there, but
Yeah.
we'll see.
It's going to be interesting to see how the Hollow Knight sequel compares to this now.
I agree. So this game does not have as fully, like, the world is not as there's not as much depth to the world. Like there aren't hidden bosses or anything like that. Like there is that I found, at least. Maybe they're still hidden, but there's a lot of like secrets in Hollow Knight. There's a lot of secrets in this game, but they're mostly like they follow a very specific path.
They're all currency or life upgrade or mana upgrade.
Yeah.
Or sometimes equipable.
Yes.
I mean, why would you put effort into a boss that not everyone will see?
There is a quest system in this game which encourages you to do stuff, but I don't feel like those have been the best implementation. Mostly they encourage me to go where I was already going for the main quest. There does seem to be one quest that was just a sequence basically ripped from the first game that I think they wanted to include, but they didn't know where to put it, and so they put it on as a side quest. I think I like the moment-to-moment movement and combat of this game better, but I think the world, like the total package of Hollow Knight, still might be better.
The music in this game is good, but Hollow Knight's music is amazing.
Yeah.
This game definitely has more story, but I'm not sure if it has more lore. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yep.
Like Hollow Knight, there's this grand city, and you see evidence of things that happened previously. Where here, there's one area where they try to drill that into you very, very hard. But other than that, it's not so much.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, it's like you get brief flashes of the world, but then nothing else is reinforcing it. Like, you have character moments where you go into dialogue with somebody who's going to give you, like, here's what the world is, and then for the rest of it, you are mostly playing through a level, and it feels like a game level rather than a space. But yeah, I definitely recommend this game.
That is good to hear, because I know, like, both of you had been looking forward to this for a while. So, another thing that happened this week is Destiny started a new season. Season of the Worthy. And I feel like I want to talk a bit about my problem with Destiny seasons. So Season of the Undying happened at the same time as the Shadowkeep expansion. And it was this flurry of activity that, like, I was super engaged with Destiny 2 at that time, and I made it to level 100 on the season path without an issue, because, like, I was playing a ton. And in doing so, like, I kind of got to see what seasons are going to be, to where, like, there's basically an activity, you have to do that activity a bunch to unlock some stuff, and in theory, you end up going all the way to 100 and unlocking all the stuff along the path. For Season of Season of Dawn was the second one, I believe. You had a way more complicated activity to where you were, like, leveling up these pylons on the different planets and unlocking a ton of stuff. And for whatever reason, I just didn't get as engaged with that season as I did Undying. And I think I maybe made it to like 65 out of 100. Like, I did not get even close to unlocking all the stuff. And I feel like I left a bunch of stuff on the table because, like, there's just a bunch of the content that I didn't get to see. And I didn't engage as, like, the whole... I don't remember what they were called. They weren't pylons. They were called something else.
Relays?
Relays, yeah. Like, that whole system just felt really grindy. Because essentially you could either... There was this whole mechanic where you generated a currency. And you got very tiny amounts of the currency through actually playing the game. You could do quests, and they were weekly quests, or you could essentially earn the currency based on how far you had leveled your relays. So there was like a tug of war between investing this resource, and then the next week you would get more of it back, or like spending it and using it to get random rolls of the weapons. And I feel like I just did not engage that well with that system. And I got like a good roll of pretty much all of the weapons that were available, but I also don't feel like I was driven to continue interacting with it.
Right.
And now, with Season of the Worthy, it's another thing like the relays, to where these bunkers are opening up from Rasputin, and you're having to, like, power up Rasputin's abilities. And, like, to some extent it's kind of a cool idea, but it also just feels like the thing we just did. Like, it feels super grindy. And again, I'm just not engaging with it. And since I struggled to try and bring myself to just push through the 100 levels last time, this time it's even harder for me to get started, because am I really going to unlock things? And, like, is it worth my time to try and even spend time doing this? And I think this is like a bigger problem I have with disappearing content.
Yeah.
Is so long as the game is the only thing I'm playing, I can manage to keep up. But But once I start to fall behind, it becomes an impediment that keeps me from even participating in the first place.
Yep.
Because I know I'm not going to be able to keep up. So, like, why bother? Why not spend my limited pool of time doing something else? And I don't know, like, I have heard rumors that Destiny is having some concurrency issues to where they're not, like, players aren't sticking around. And I still think, like, I realize they're trying to drive, like, constant interaction, but I still feel like disposable content is like a waste of resources.
Well, there was an interview recently where the guy in charge, who's, I don't, remember names or anything, like, said that was something that they had identified that they needed to address, was the whole, fear of missing out, that there's basically just too much of the content that just goes away.
Yeah. Well, and, like, I like games that get bigger over time.
Yes.
And so a prime example is Elder Scrolls Online. Like, Elder Scrolls Online has an excessive amount of content, but I know that all of it is sitting there waiting on me, and I can tackle it at my own pace. And while at any given time, I'm like 1 or 2 full expansions behind, I can still return to it and poke at and prod at it at my own pace, and it doesn't feel like I'm missing out on anything. Like, it's waiting there for me. The same thing's true with Final Fantasy XIV.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can return after several patches and know that, oh, hey, I can go catch up. And, in reality, it's probably going to be easier for me to catch up because they've got catch-up mechanics.
Yeah.
Like, that is the method that I would prefer to engage with games. Like, I don't like constructs that are like, oh, if you're not here, you missed out.
It's like, this is what's happening for 1 month, and after that month, it's gone forever. So if you don't play right now, you just don't get to experience it. Yeah.
I was worried about that for Warframe when they introduced the Nightwave thing, but as it turns out, they are perfectly willing to just bring stuff back.
Yeah, they've been real good about replaying old stuff.
And that's the thing, too, is, like, I don't mind expiring content so long as it's on a pretty frequent release cadence.
Yeah, it comes back around. It seems like how Monster Hunter seems to be doing it all.
Yeah.
Like, there's all these different events that were, time-limited events, but they come back around every so often.
Right, they have, like, a festival that, like, oh, hey, you can do anything that came before. I mean, the same's true with, like, Dragalia Lost. Like, they've had a pretty good rotation of bringing things back around. So, like, if I missed out on something the first time, then I've seen that same content pop up a couple times. So, I think there's a balance there that you have to give people the opportunity to participate. Like, that was one of the things that I loved about EverQuest 2, was they were constantly adding new holiday content, but during any given holiday, you could do all of the holiday content that had come before. So, like, if you missed out on a specific year's content, you could go do it. Like, they just left it out in the world, so you could catch up. And I really appreciate that. But, yeah, like this is my conundrum right now with Destiny 2. Like, on some level, I want to play and participate, but on other levels, yeah, I just can't be bothered. And then I will log in, and I will piddle around for a few minutes, and then I end up logging right back out because I'm not real sure what I want to be doing. How far did you manage to make it last season, Thalen?
I don't remember. I think I broke 100, but there's plenty of stuff that I didn't experience. Because, yeah, it basically got to, like, it's like there's nobody around for me to do this stuff with, and I'm not real into it, and there's Yakuza 0 that I'm working on, and then Final Fantasy came back around, so, yeah. So I haven't even looked at Destiny in maybe 2 months at this point.
Okay, Kodra, while we were podcasting last week, you were poking your head into Pokemon Mystery Dungeon.
Yeah, so, I mean, Ash has always talked about these games. My son loves Pokemon. I figured I would try these. Also, it's, as somebody who's been looking for an isometric dungeon crawler type thing, this was apparently given to me as a way to fit that bill. And it does very well. It's great.
So is this the new one that just came out, or is this the old one?
This is the new one.
Okay, I wasn't sure if it was actually out yet or not.
And I do feel like I was oversold on some of the difficulty, but I also am understanding that maybe the new one was designed to be easier.
How far have you gotten?
I have just defeated Gengar the first time. I'm assuming I'm going to fight him like 5 times or 6 times throughout this game.
Pretty sure you only fight him the one.
Really?
But if you haven't become fugitive yet, then we need to come back to that talk about the difficulty.
If I haven't become what?
A fugitive.
Oh, I've not become a fugitive yet. No. All right. So maybe the difficulty is coming. That's fine. The game definitely gives you the ability to collect them all, which is fun. And somebody needs to sell Wigglytuff orbs. Anyone. Please.
Clearly, you just buy all camps to go into a dungeon, so you don't need to worry about all of that.
That's unrealistic.
I'm aware. I still have all of them either.
Somebody needs to sell me Wigglytuff orbs. I'm getting a little better. But yeah, so one of the things is you have to purchase camps, and Pokemon have their own habitats. If you haven't purchased a Pokemon's habitat, you can't become friends with it, and you can't add it to your squad. And Pokemon, like, you can make friends with them. You don't catch them. You fight them, you defeat them, and then they decide to be your friends in the most anime fashion possible.
Defeat means friendship, indeed.
Yeah, and if before you go into a dungeon, you have already purchased the location that you need for the Pokemon who you make friends with, then they can become on your team. If you didn't succeed at that psychic check, too bad. They're going to go off and do something else.
I mean, they pay you kind of handsomely when they go off and do something else.
I suppose, which I guess I should use to buy more camps so more Pokemon can join me. Mostly I appreciate the fact that I still have the ability to rename all of my Pokemon, which gives my son something to do. Because he loves
I
whenever...
know I got named a Mag.
Yeah, you got a name in there.
Yeah, I know I was the Magnemite.
We've got...
Have you gotten a lot of other names in?
Not really. Mostly it's whatever he sees in the room. Like, there's a Pokemon named Magnet, not a Magnemite, unfortunately. But the game does most of the Pokemon things where it's like, hey, you have 4 moves, and the moves are slightly redesigned because this is a tactics game, so you have to like figure out how they work in a tactics grid environment, but that just adds a little bit more depth to them. Also, the fact is that because you're going in to this long dungeon and you don't have a Pokestop anywhere, you care a lot more about your PP, so better bring along some ethers to restore your PP for certain moves. But still, like, if I run into a water Pokemon, I'd better bring my electric type forward. It's cool. And, yeah.
I played enough of it to make me think that I would probably like the Dragon Quest version of this better than the Pokemon version of this.
The only Dragon Quest one is the original.
Yeah, I know. I don't love Pokemon as much as...
Have you tried the Chocobo Dungeon version, though? I guess you can't demo that, but...
I have this weird thing with Pokemon where, like, I love collecting Pokemon. I just don't like the combat system for Pokemon at all.
I mean, what don't you like about it?
I have to care way more about rock, paper, scissors than I care about rock, paper,
fair.
scissors.
Okay, yeah, that's definitely still a thing here. Although it is worth noting that while rock, paper, scissors matter, stab matters way more. So getting the right moves on the right Pokemon matters a lot. Stab is same type and ability.
Same type attack bonus.
Same type attack bonus. So, for example, I have a steel attack, a grass attack, and a normal attack, and an electric attack on my Pikachu. But I mostly use the electric attack because it gets a massive boost.
The biggest problem that I have is, like, I go through massive indecision anytime it offers me to replace a move.
That's better these days because you can usually I think in all the more recent games, there's a way to go back and retrieve moves that you replaced.
Yeah, but that's, I don't think, true in Mystery Dungeon.
It might not
it's
be.
absolutely true in Mystery Dungeon.
Oh, good.
It's really easy.
Good, because that is also the thing that would give me paralysis.
Really?
So good.
How do
I'm glad
do
glad you can do that.
Go talk to Gulpin in town. One of his options is remember moves.
Yeah.
From the start.
I have not started linking moves yet.
Linking moves is the thing that is unique to the Mystery Dungeon games. It lets you use 2 moves in one turn. This is just as broken as it sounds.
I was going to say.
But it drains your resources rather heavily.
I mean, resource management is a bit of a name of the game when I've been playing.
Yeah, but then there are boss fights.
That's fair.
I've seen people with setups where they link sword stance to 3 attacking moves and attempt to one turn or 2 turn the boss.
But yeah,
I was super thankful that a demo existed. Because I could probably get used to it and enjoy it, but it was fun just being able to say, oh hey, I'm gonna download this and see what it's like.
It is a cute little world with a little bit more meat on its bones for the combat and the risk factor that I enjoy. But I can still catch Pokemon and name them, and so me and my son have fun with it. We're still playing the regular Pokemon game though, so the difference between them is one has Pokeballs and the other doesn't. So he calls the main series the Pokeball Pokemon game.
Okay, so is this next topic Dicey Dungeons?
It is Dicey Dungeons! A lot of people have told me I should try Dicey Dungeons because I like Slay the Spire.
Gee, I wonder why.
And they are similar games. They're not the same game.
It's true.
Dicey Dungeons, I actually think I get through runs faster, and I'm willing to fail them out more, and they're a little bit more consistent. And everything is just a little bit more, somehow feels less random to me, even though, there are dice that are happening every single round, and so technically there should be more randomness. But the fact is, your dice matter way less than what powers you get as you run through the dungeon. And so, yeah, it's really fun. You can get through a session in 10 to 20 minutes. All of the characters feel...
Much like my comments on, Book of Demons?
Mm-hmm.
This feels like it was designed to be a mobile game, just isn't available on mobile platforms yet.
Yeah, I can
Book
see
of Demons
that.
actually is available on mobile platforms now.
I mean, I guess I am dragging dice around and whatnot. Yeah, this feels ready for mobile. But yeah, so you roll a number of dice, and then you have equipment that requires certain numbers of dice to activate. And some equipment wants you to have low numbers. Some equipment really wants you to have high numbers. And so some equipment lets you modify the dice that you're getting. And so you have a bunch of options as you're going through the game, and you're trying to build well so that you have a smoothly running system by the end of the game so that you can fight a boss and kill it. There's various different status effects you're applying. There's a bunch, every single run has slightly different twists. The first run is always just generic rules. And then every run after that puts a slight twist on it. Except for, I guess, the elimination round, which is always just same as base rules, but now everything has more hit points and everything hits harder. Which is still mostly easier than the parallel universe, where everything changes. But yeah, the story's cute. You're fighting Lady Luck, who is Lady Fortune, who is the host of this game show in which you're going through these dungeons and you always lose.
Even if you win, you lose.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if that ever changes.
I don't know. I have not 100% of the game, so I can't say.
Yeah, I'm working my way through the 100% run. I'm 2 of 6 characters. I got distracted by Ori.
So, while we were sitting here, I realized I had another topic that I wanted to talk about. This week, I have been kind of wrapping up various things. Like I said, I went back and finished up Doom. I finished up Mars Warlogs, which is the 3rd game by Spiders that I have played through. It was really good. Like it had some issues, like all Spiders games have. It had a pretty good story. There were some cringe moments, but like it was mostly an enjoyable experience. On a whim, I decided to try. So basically, Mars Warlog was a game in a setting, and then Technomancer was the direct sequel to it, and I played through Technomancer first. But there was a game that came between those games, and I decided to see what it was like. Because someone said it was like Fable. Who said
told you that?
Was a lie. I mean, actually, it was a Cynical Brit review. Said it was like Fable.
Bound by Flame was their attempt at Dark Souls.
Yeah, it is. It was a bad attempt at Dark Souls. It is not good. Like I actually like Dragon's Dogma better than I like Dark Souls, but like
Dragon's Dogma is just Monster Hunter combat in an RPG.
Yeah, I guess. So yeah, it is not a good game. Like I have basically met the end of my journey into Spiders games. I cannot do it. I can't. I don't know. There might be like a diamond in the rough there, but like the combat is just so bad. So there's a thing that happens in brawlers where you are only ever usually fighting like one or two things at a time, and it feels like you're fighting an entire room, but in reality, like you're actually only have one or two things aggroed on you at once. This is Karn's Castle from EverQuest. Like everything is aggroed onto you all the time, and they have perfect precision in hitting you. So while you are trying to deal with the fiddly monsters that like block and shit, you're just getting pelted from behind by every archer in the zone. It ends up making it feel like really random. And it's not a situation where... So like in a Souls game, you can kind of pick your engagements to where like once you've learned a hallway or something, you know, okay, well I need to take this out first, and then this is going to happen, and then this is going to happen. This is just some random stuff shows up and it starts attacking you. You don't get to control your own engagement. So like, I don't know what their thought was. I do not understand how they thought this was going to feel good. But yeah, no, like Bound by Blood. Is it Bound by Blood or Bound by Flame?
Bound by Flame.
Bound by Flame. There you go. Yeah, like this is just not going to be a game for me. So I have halted my progression through the back catalog of Spiders. I will try another game when it comes out because I really enjoyed Greedfall, Technomancer, and Mars Warlogs. But yeah, no, I just cannot do their faux Soulsian.
Yeah, Bad Souls is not great.
Which, I mean, it's kind of frustrating because, like, I really do like what they do with their games. Like, yes, their ambition is outstripped. Their technical prowess is outstripped by their ambition, but, like, they're doing ambitious things and they're telling interesting stories. But yeah, this was just not a case where that worked. So, does anyone have any final topics, thoughts, things that we want to cover before we wrap things up?
I think we're good.
Okay. Well,
stay safe out there.
Yep. Hopefully you enjoy the show and stay safe and, practice social distancing and wash your hands excessively so that we all are okay on the other end of this thing.
Find a good 20-second song you know how to sing. The first track of They Might Be Giants Flood is perfect. That's what I've been using.
I mean, I have been partial to I Must Not Fear. Fear is the Mind Killer.
I've been using part of Bohemian Rhapsody.
Love on Top happens to fit.
Anyway, we will see you next week. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
See you.